Hi guys, it's 4:30 in the afternoon, which means it's a little late for me to be shooting a video. Nevertheless, I'm in the mood for a French apple tart, so that is what I'm going to make for you. First up, the crust, which I am going to make in the food processor. 1½ cups of all-purpose flour, a ½ teaspoon of salt, and 1 stick of diced up butter. That's 113 grams or a ½ cup. And just sprinkle the butter all over the flour. Put the lid on and pulse a few times just to break up the butter. And I'm going to pulse mine a couple more times. We want the butter to be about the size of peas, which mine is. Then add 1 beaten egg and run the machine until the dough starts to mass on the blade. Cover your ears. There we go. Hold on while I grab my pastry cloth. I love this pastry cloth because nothing sticks to it. And you just gather the dough into a rough ball. And flatten it into a disc, and then grab a sheet of plastic wrap and wrap the dough like so. You can flatten it a little more at this point. And then pop this into the refrigerator while we move on to the next step. This tart, which is properly called a Tart Tatin, requires a lemon and 6 Granny Smith apples. Granny Smith because they hold their shape while baking. And we're going to juice the lemon into a bowl, and I've got my nifty little juicing gadget here. This way I can get all the juice, which, believe it or not, we're going to drain off later. There we go. And then let me show you how I'm going to peel the apples. I have this cheap little gadget that I found at Amazon, and hang on, my cat is scratching at the door. She wants out. There you go. That was Tiger. And it has these little prongs here, and you put the apple on the prongs, not stem side down, but what is it called? Blossom side down. And then start cranking the machine. And the handle always falls off, but that's okay. And just put it right back on. As I said, it's a very cheap machine. And I hope you can see this. Look, it's peeling the apple. Fast, fast, fast. My handle fell off again. And let's have a look. I'm going to finish peeling all of these apples and then I'll come back and we can core them. I'm back. I just wanted to show you this cheapo gadget again because it's really fun to use. Even if the handle falls off every now and then, no trouble to reattach it. And it's amazing what we can find, these little helpers in the kitchen. Okay, next step, we have to core the apples. And for this, I need another gadget. And this is just a common apple core. It has little teeth at the end. And I hope you can see. Go like this. Here we go. Straight down. And out. And sometimes you get lucky and the core of the apple is perfectly centered. Sometimes it is not. Mine was not. And so then you go back in and just pull the thing out again. And this is perfectly cored. And I'm going to finish coring all of these apples and I'll come right back to you. My apples are nicely and neatly cored. For this next step, we cut them in half and into quarters. Then cut the quarters in half. So this is a very easy job. I'll finish quartering the apples, and as we go, I'm going to drop them into the lemon juice, and I'll give them a toss. I'll do one more apple for you. In half, into quarters, and cut the quarters in half. This will give you the right size apple wedges. And into the lemon bath they go. I'll finish these and come right back. When you toss the apples in the lemon, make sure all of the wedges get nicely coated. Then add a half cup of sugar. And toss the apples again. By the way, the apples are going to be like ridiculously delicious at this point. Try not to eat all of them. You want to save them for French apple tart. And we have to let these sit and exude their juices for 15 to 20 minutes. So guess what? I'll come back. Boy, it's getting dark now. I've turned on some lights and my apples have exuded most of their juices. So this next step, we need a wire mesh sieve and we place it over a bowl. And then pour the apples in. And give them a little shake. Look at all the juices that are coming up. And we will let these drain. Meantime, I'm going to reposition the camera at the stove because we have to make some caramel. Yay! You will need a very well seasoned cast iron skillet in which to make the caramel. And my skillet measures 9 inches diameter on the bottom and 10 inches diameter on the top. So that's what you want to use. And also preheat your oven to 425 degrees. We're going to be baking this tart in the oven, in this very pan. Now I've just added 1 cup, or rather a half cup, that's 113 grams of diced butter to the skillet, and my skillet is set over a medium-low flame, and we're going to let the butter melt, which it is doing rapidly because my butter was sitting out for quite a while. And then to the butter we add 1 cup of sugar. And that's all caramel is, just butter and sugar. And we have to stir this constantly until the sugar liquefies and begins to turn brown. In other words, it needs to look like caramel. And you have to be really careful not to let the caramel burn. If the caramel gets too dark, it will turn bitter, and then the French apple tart will be not very pleasant to eat. So just keep an eye on it. And I'll come back when my caramel is at the right color. I'm back. While I'm stirring this caramel, I wanted to thank you for spending time with me in the kitchen. Also, let me thank you for posting comments both on my YouTube channel and on my website. I really love hearing from you guys. And my caramel looks just about right. I've been stirring it for 4 to 5 minutes. Again, the most important thing is to not let it get too dark. And I'm going to cut mine off the heat right now because it looks pretty good. And I'll readjust the camera because we have to go back to the workstation. Hang on. I'm about to arrange the apple slices in the caramel, but I forgot to remind you, take your pie crust out of the refrigerator. I want it to soften a little bit. Now, the apples. Roll up your sleeves, and I'm going to arrange the apples in concentric circles. Since this is an upside down tart, the apples we arrange on the bottom are going to later appear on the top. So we want them to look kind of attractive. And just be careful because this caramel, of course, is very hot. I have my skillet sitting on a wire rack. Like this. So I've gone in one circle, and then I'll just fill in the middle as decoratively as I can, which might not be very decorative at all. And then the remaining apples, we don't have to be very careful about. In fact, we can just throw them on top. And the apples, well, it will look like you have too many apples, but they will cook down because we are going back to the stove. So hold on. Okay, I've returned the pan to medium-low heat, and as the apple juices exude some more, the caramel will thin out a bit, and then you take a bowl baster. Boy, I had to search for this. I haven't used it since last Thanksgiving. And you suck up the caramel and redistribute it over the apples like this. Just suck it up and squirt it out all over the apples. This way the apples, even the ones on top, will have a really nice caramelly flavor. I'll just finish doing this very quickly. And you can come back and repeat this procedure every few minutes. And then we are going to cover the skillet with a lid and let the apples cook until they are fork tender. That will take 10 to 15 minutes, again on medium to low heat. And I hate to do this to you again, but we have to move back to the workstation to roll out the pastry dough. Okay, it's time to roll out the dough. First give it a few good whacks, just to show it who's boss. That's actually to help soften it a bit. And then, when you roll the dough, well, I do it this way. I always start in the middle, and then I roll to about an inch from the edge. Find the dough doesn't crack so much when I do that, and if it does crack, it's very easy to fix. But this dough, which was made with all butter, rolls out very easily. And we want to roll it out to about 10 inches. And if your dough cracks, mine isn't bad, just cup your hands and go around the edge to push them back, to push the cracks back into shape. Flip it over, roll on this side. Again, I really love this pastry cloth because, as you'll see, I don't have to keep adding flour to it. When I watch people roll dough and they're continually adding flour, I mean massive quantities of flour, I always think, why don't they get a pastry cloth? And let me measure this. I suspect this is more than 10 inches. Yep, it's about 10.5 inches. Okay, so we're going to let this sit here for a moment, and then I need to fetch my apples. Actually, I want you to watch me baste them again. So here we go. I'm just carrying the camera over. And here they are, off with the lid. And let's see, they need to be fork tender. Mine are not quite there yet. So, as you can see, the caramel has really thinned out quite a bit, so it's easy to grab with the bowl baster. And again, we're just redistributing the caramel over the apples. This tart is going to be totally delicious, and because it's so late, I think it's going to be my dinner tonight. Well, there are worse things to eat than a French apple tart for dinner. I could be eating at McDonald's, for instance. Yuck. Okay. And I'm going to let these cook. I think they have about 5 more minutes to go. And then we're going to put this in the oven. I'll be back. Okay, my apples are fork tender. You don't want them to be too soft, or you'll end up with a pie crust topped with applesauce. And we don't want that. So I'll give them another little basting. And by the way, if you don't have a proper baster, just push the apples down into the caramel as they cook. And we have to go back to the workstation because I have to cover this with the pastry dough. So take the dough, I'm going to fold mine in half, set it over the apples, and then fold the edges inward a little bit and tuck the dough a little bit into the caramel. Being very careful and always remembering that the caramel is quite hot. And then, since this is going into the oven, we need to make some steam vents. I'm going to make 5, and I'm just using the stem of a spoon for mine. I'm going to use a little more. And that's that. Into the oven it goes. And then we will come back for our moment of reckoning. I forgot to tell you, the tart goes into the 425-degree oven for exactly 20 minutes. I have to unmold this while it is still hot. And I have a pedestal cake stand that just fits this pan. So, okay, off with the rack. Now, what we have to do is invert this, and you have to do it very quickly. So, clutch your pearls, William. Here we go. And off goes. Wow. Ooh. Oh, that was pretty successful. Let's see. A couple of, well, one or two apples stuck to the pan. Maybe my pan wasn't as well seasoned as I thought it was, but it looks pretty darn good. Although my apples seem a little too soft. Let me fix the camera so you can see it a little better. I'll try to do a close-up. There. I'm sorry it's so dark. I should not have started this video so late in the day. Anyway, let's spin it around just like a fashion model. There it is. And I have to let this cool before I can take a taste test. So since it's so late, I guess I won't be eating this for dinner. I will check back with you in the morning and then I'll do a taste test. See you then. Okay, I decided not to wait until tomorrow morning to try this. So here it is, and I put some ice cream on the side. I melted the ice cream a little bit in the microwave first because I like semi-melted ice cream. That's my cat. This is excellent. Another bite. The apples are lemony, and they're a little too soft, but they're lemony, sweet, and wonderful. And the caramel, of course, is caramel. There's nothing better on earth than that. And the all-butter pastry crust is divine. So I hope you'll give this dessert a try. And I also hope you'll post a comment below and subscribe to my YouTube channel. I'm trying to remember everything I want to tell you. And I'll see you next time. Bye for now.